I'm Karaleigh Garrison, singer-songwriter, self-care coach for burnt-out moms, and your host of the Seeking Sunshine podcast, where we find the positive in the trials of life. There are times when life just brings you down, 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 down to the ground, and it's hard when you can't see the light, 'cause things don't look so bright. So now it's time to reframe and retrain your brain. It's time to look for the good. You know that you should. Why don't you join me? 'Cause I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking sunshine. Oh, oh, oh. I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking sunshine. I'm so excited to share this new version of my single Seeking Sunshine with you in my upcoming album. I don't have a release date yet, but stay tuned, it's coming up. Are you looking for ways to support my podcast? If so, then please like it, subscribe it, and leave it a review. Did you know that if you leave a review, it helps my podcast get shown to more people? I would so appreciate it if you could leave some words in the review box and let people know. Share this with your friends and family and tell them about the episodes that you really like and some of the takeaways that you've personally received and that have helped you out. Do you have an amazing story to share? It's my belief that we all do, that we've all been through really, really tough things, and that when we share our stories, it's beneficial for us, but it's also beneficial for everyone who gets to hear it. We all have stories of overcoming that we can teach what we've learned to other people and inspire and uplift those around us. So if you feel called to share your story, please reach out to me. You can email me at seekingsunshinepodcast@gmail.com. Hey guys, real quick, I wanted to remind you that the doors are officially open for my Shine Self-Care Coaching Program. This is a program that will take you from burnout, from being overwhelmed all the time and stressed with your life just feeling completely out of control, to a place of peace and freedom and joy. Did you know that it's possible for you to change your mindset and feel happy no matter what is going on in your life? I have had so much practice in overcoming and persevering through really, really tough times, and I know that it's true, that you can find joy no matter what is going on in your life. I would love to take you by the hand and guide you through this process, and I want you to know that unless you do something to change your habits and your mind, nothing's gonna change. It's up to you. You have to be the one to decide that enough is enough and that it's time to make a difference in your life. You can live the life that you've always dreamed of. Are you ready for it? Reach out to me. You can find me at seekingsunshinepodcast@gmail.com, or you can find more information on my website, KaraleighGarrison.com. Just schedule a little 15-minute clarity call with me and we can talk together and determine if this is the right path for you. I'm excited to see you. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Seeking Sunshine podcast. I am so excited that you are here today because today's episode is absolutely incredible. Today I've got the amazing Scott and Nancy Kiesling, and if you haven't heard of them, their story will blow your mind. They have overcome so much and their story is so inspiring. I can't wait for you to hear it. So real quick, Scott and Nancy are relationship coaches. They use their unique method of adventure therapy to help people overcome their self-doubt and fears and build an ultimate relationship with themselves first, so that they can then attract in the love that they've always desired. Now, I don't want to say much more because I want to let them share their story because it's just that good. So without any further ado, welcome to Scott and Nancy. Hi, Scott and Nancy. Thank you so much for coming on to the Seeking Sunshine podcast today.
Oh, thanks for having
Yeah,
us. It's
thank
our
you so
pleasure.
much.
Absolutely. So let's dive right in. I'm really excited to hear your story and talk about how far you guys have come and everything that you've like overcome in your lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a journey for sure, right? And that's really what life is.
I was gonna say, I mean, isn't it for everybody, right? Everyone's got their journey. It's just how are we gonna look at it? As a story
Yeah, absolutely.
or a film, right?
Right. Oh, and I was reading through your thing and like I relate to your story a lot. So I'm so excited to hear it.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where would you like to begin, right?
Right. Yeah. Where should we start?
Start from the beginning. I think it was like first you guys got married. That's
Okay.
how my story really starts, at least.
Yeah.
It's like I felt
Okay.
like everything really just like skyrocketed after I
Yeah.
got married.
Yeah. So, prior to getting married, we both were kind of, fumbling around looking for our soulmate kind of thing. And, we did the work on us to really develop that ultimate relationship with ourselves first. And, we really believe that's what attracted us together.
That's
And
essential. That's
yeah,
so important.
It,
now looking back today, I'm like, what was I doing running around like not having that? Like, of course I had the issues I had.
well, and it's really just to touch on that for a second. It's really we jokingly say we were marinating for each other
Yeah.
because at no other point
Mm,
in our life would this have worked out
no.
because we weren't in the place to have an enlightened relationship as opposed to a traditional relationship, right?
Yeah.
And that really that's the work that we each did to attract each other and attract someone who was into growth and having an enlightened relationship instead of the same old as your parents.
Yeah.
um,
Well, and the payoff to that was, being together once we were married and, life started happening, right? There's the goods, the bads, the ups, the downs. Looking back, if I hadn't attracted in someone who was at my level for an enlightened relationship, I don't think we would have went through the trials and tribulations we did as smoothly and through a growth spurt in the sense of going through it versus like really hitting it and hitting a wall and going down. So, I think that is essential of having that person who's also wanting the enlightened relationship so that when you hit hard times, you thrive through them. You figure out how to grow through them instead of, going the other direction. So, we were married about a year and a half, almost 2 years. And our lifestyle was adventure, right? We did motorcycle riding, rock climbing, waterfall rappelling, lots of traveling. Adventure, adventure, adventure is what we wanted to stick in there. And all of a sudden, that came to a screeching halt. Scott had been in the film industry for about 27 years at that point, and he was a special effects coordinator. And he was in an accidental explosion at work, right? So he got blown up and he had a traumatic brain injury, had to relearn how to walk and talk again. And, that took about a year and a half to go through all of that. So our lifestyle of adventure changed drastically. Our
in a
dynamic
moment,
relationship
right?
changed drastically.
And I think that's the piece that I really want to convey to folks,
Mm,
is that life happens in this moment right now,
yeah.
whether that's good or bad, right? What's the meaning that we put on that?
Mm,
Obviously, at first, it was traumatic, right?
yeah.
It was bad, right? I put the meaning on it that this has ruined my life. Um, my whole identity was really who I was in the film industry,
Mm,
uh, and to sort of lose that identity was one more piece. I didn't only have a brain injury and not able to speak correctly or walk correctly, but I also lost a huge part of who I believed I was.
mm.
Um,
Well, and then it goes into your identities in the relationship. We were very much so the type of, we were dual companionships, but he did a lot of the caretaking for me, right? He was the guy who took care of everything. He drove me everywhere. He was, that guy. And all of a sudden, everything had to switch. I had to become the caretaker. I had to help him walk. Even as he got better and things grew, I had to become the driver everywhere, and, kind of the head of the household for a time period. So even that dynamic in a relationship, again, if you're not looking at it through
a growth mindset,
yeah, it can become very dark,
Oh yeah.
so
Yeah,
so
absolutely. So one of the things I like to say is that there's blessings in every trial and trials in every blessing, and you just have to look at both sides of that coin. You have to see, and sometimes it's really hard to see, the sunshine in all that darkness until you've gotten past it a little ways, and you can look in hindsight and go, okay, I was able to grow, I was able to move, and here's how my life has changed for the better since.
Yeah.
And that, we call it a gift. We talk with clients all the time about there's a gift in everything if we're open to see the gift. And there's gifts all around us every day that are manifesting for us, if we can really look at it from those glasses, from those lenses. And then, of course, you've got all the other humans, the doctors, the physical therapists, right, who all have their own limiting beliefs
about what you should do, shouldn't do, can't do.
Right, or what you're able to do. I mean, our doctors, there was a point about a year into my recovery where the doctor said, this is it. We've only seen 2 other people go further than this with your type of injury, and they were Navy SEALs, and you're not a Navy SEAL. And it was like crushing in that moment, because in that moment you go, well, this is a doctor. This is somebody who's, more than me. And that, even that, you've got to have the awareness to see, like, okay, I get this is all you've ever seen, but that doesn't mean that's all there is. So really doing and I have to give credit to my beautiful wife, doing the research to find alternative ways, other doctors that had less limiting beliefs about where I was going to go, because I had my own limiting beliefs. Let's be honest. I've been in the spiritual growth world for 20 years. This was a dead stop. It was like running your car into a brick wall. It was, all of my old limiting beliefs, all of my old identity flaws, fears, all came up. They all came to the surface, and that's the gift.
Well, so what we started to do was, you'll hear us a lot today, we promote adventure therapy, right? So because our life was full of adventure, Scott had learned about adventure therapy, which for all of you listening has been around since like the 30s. But he had been using it for, himself, to help other clients. And so we really started going, all right, well, let's bring that in like little doses, right? Because adventure is whatever it is for you, right? Whatever steps you out of your comfort zone just a little bit. So wherever you are in life.
I feel like adventure is more of a mindset.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it was like, okay, where does your comfort zone, where's the line of it, right? So for him, it was like, okay, at that moment, it was walking past this point. So we would just go a little bit further and a little bit further, right? Every day was just a little bit, and bringing in different things that gave him the feeling of adventure and being adventurous, right? Stepping past just a little bit further than you think you can makes you feel like you're stepping into that adventurous mindset, and you are, right? And it built every day. It was a little bit of healing and just a little bit more. And before you knew it, it was, I was
going around the block.
You were going around the block, right? You were able to get back into a car again, right? Without the world flipping upside down. I was driving, but he could at least sit in the passenger seat. But at about the 2-year mark, I think it was, he rappelled down his first rock face again, right?
That's
So,
amazing.
you know, and it was like this huge, I mean, for both of us, we were like we did it. We got, you know, and we got not back to where we were, we went forward. We were in a whole different place, you know, so we felt like, wow, this is like really what adventure therapy can do for you if you do it in these little bits.
And just to touch on that, you know, we call them 1 degree shifts.
Yeah.
And we lived on a sailboat for a long time. And as sailors, you know, you're never really on course, right? You're not like,
Yeah.
you know,
There's no lines to just be like.
So if I use the analogy or the metaphor about life within that moment, it's like, you know, you're sailing and you're having fun and cooking some food, and you come back out and you look at your compass, and it's like you don't lose it because you're not at 240 degrees southeast, right? It's like, 1 degree shift and we back on course. And when you think about 1 degree shifts over a length, over a distance, over a period of time, that shift is incredibly large, right? And so those 1 degree shifts led us with that adventurous mindset to that first rappel again. And like Nancy said, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, so I love it.
In a nutshell, think up until that point.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. What has astounded me in my life, and with your story as well, is like how much we are capable of that we just don't really see. So my story, it has some ish similarities to yours. My husband's been disabled for the last decade. We got married 14 years ago, and within a few years of being married, it was a slow decline of genetic defect where he always had severe PTSD and anxiety and depression, but slowly this back problem came in, and he would collapse anytime he got stressed out. It's called familial episodic ataxia. And it got to the point where anytime, like, he could not vacuum, he couldn't stand up and do the dishes, he couldn't do anything because it was too stressful, and he would collapse, and I'd have to kind of carry/drag him to bed because he's a lot bigger than I am. And we also have 3 kids on the autism spectrum, and so every single time, like, he couldn't watch the kids because they'd be too stressful, and it was this really, you know, traumatic kind of thing for a while where he was in and out of the hospital and things went wrong. And over the last couple of years, he's had this just miraculous kind of healing experience, and now he jogs for fun sometimes, which I know is not quite as adventurous as climbing mountains. but it's incredible to see somebody, you know, my 36-year-old husband who could not walk without a cane, who now will jog for fun and, you know, do laps in the pool and go do, you know, yoga and tai chi because he's able to use his body in a way that he could not for a decade. And so the mindset is just utterly essential, whatever you believe. And when you're in that state, it can take a lot before you believe again. And I'm sure that you know that the depression that takes over when your life is just taken away, and to first shift your mind to going, okay, this is possible. How do I allow myself to believe in what's possible?
Yeah, and I think that's such a key point, because as you probably have heard as well, a lot of people bring up that word impossible, right? And so it was really keeping that adventurous mindset to turn that into I'm possible. And that having that adventurous mindset is what kept us, you know, really out of those limiting beliefs of other people.
Oh, I do want to focus. You just said shifting from impossible to I'm possible.
Yes.
I want to stick on that one because that's incredible. That's amazing.
No, and we all are, you know, and it doesn't matter what we're going after. It can be something as, you know, small as getting a new job, or as big as all of a sudden you have an ailment that you've never had. But if you start shifting that, and again, it's got to be in those 1 degree shifts, because our mind will call BS on it, right? To be honest. So it's got to be a habit that you build to tell yourself that you're possible, because all that's happening is you're telling yourself you're not, and you're telling yourself what everyone else is thinking, their limiting beliefs, and we're repeating that over and over in our head. So of course it brings in that depression and that downside. And
yeah, I mean, it would have been easy to take all the painkillers and sit on the couch.
Yeah.
Right? It would have been simple to do that. Thank God, right, that we've got each other. And because even as strong as my mind is, that brain injury shut off so many pieces of my really the logical thought, the everyday, I couldn't communicate with my body, let alone communicate with somebody else. And so as that starts to develop, like, what if I don't ever walk again? What if I can't ever speak again? What if the world is upside down every day for the rest of my life? And then it was like, no, I don't accept that. I don't accept that. I am possible. I can do anything. I've overcome so many things in my life. So this is nothing more than another obstacle to find myself, right? And that was the sunshine, if you will, because as it became a force of nature for me to not give up, to not sit on that couch, to not take the sleeping pills and the pain pills and all the stuff they wanted me to be on, to numb me down. It was another opportunity for me to find my way back home, to me, to us, to changing that, even the mindset around my identity of who I was capable of being. And that's where that shift really began to start more of the growth process, to find that sunshine on those cloudy days. Because that's what it takes. It doesn't, for me, it wasn't about like, oh, look at the cloud. Oh, it's just a black cloud. It's going to be this, and it's going to be negative, and I'm going to be depressed and sit here. And it had to change. And so really having that adventurous mindset is what took us to that next level.
Ooh, and one thing that you just, I don't know, inspired me is like, if you can see the dark cloud, there's light. If you can even see the dark cloud, there is something illuminating it. There's something that's making it possible for you to see it.
Yep.
Yeah, I love
Absolutely.
that. I love that. Again, I go back to there's a gift in everything. My mentor, Tony Robbins, says all the time, right, that in the problems, in the challenges, is where we get to have a growth spurt. It's where we get to develop that sunshine, that light within us, right? And it's not about everybody else. As much as it's about her and our relationship, it's about me. And it's about, am I going to live up to be the man I want to be? Not the man they're telling me to be, or I should be, or I shouldn't be, or I could be, or I couldn't be, right?
Well, and then in that same moment, right, it's not about him. It's not about any of that. It's about me and my journey, right? So for every time you're in it, it's for each individual person. So, where was I not going to accept not being, the strength I needed to be in that moment? Or when was I, when he was capable of certain things, it takes everything in you to not, you want to do everything for them. You want to help them, but you have to give tough love at some points, right? And I'm sure you felt this, where it's like, well, in order for them to grow, when he was able to start to finally do little things, I had to push him a little bit, right? As much as it was like scary and I didn't want to push him too far, you have to, it's almost like a little kid, you got to let him fall to get stronger and stand up. Same kind of thing. It was like when he was able to, clean or do something that was, at the time a big deal, it was like, all right, well, making sure he hadn't gotten into the habit of not doing for himself and relying on someone else, right? And pushing in those times. So it gave a lot of growth in different ways for both of us to kind of get used, like tap into our own authentic selves of what's going on and what are you feeling and are you speaking up about it in the relationship.
Oh, absolutely. And what's one thing that's bringing this up for me is as women, it's like we're kind of taught and culturalized to like, we're the caretaker. We take care of you, and I'll do all the dishes, and I'll do all the sweeping, and I'll do all the stuff. And then it's like, but we don't want that. Actually, we want to be equal members of this partnership.
Yeah.
And so like it's kind of defying, everything that the world's telling us, to just do everything for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, the cult that we live in, this culture, really propagates that, once you become the caretaker, that's it, right? You keep doing it. And what we find with clients is it becomes almost a mother-son relationship, right? All of a sudden, there's all these little aspects that your subconscious starts to relate to a different type of relationship. And again, without awareness, you could really get stuck in that, right?
And that's not good.
Yeah. It takes all the connection away, all the intimacy, all the, that again, that dynamic is so important for how you feel as a woman and as a man, and you got to talk about those things and you got to notice them and be aware of them for yourself at the same time so you can have the discussions.
Well, and I think that's such a big piece is the defining it for yourself, right? Because as much as she didn't want to become the caretaker, I did not want her to become the caretaker. Right? Mm-hmm. I have a man ego. I have a man brain, and it's different. And so even accepting for that period of time, it didn't make me less of a man, right? That's what my subconscious wants me to believe in that moment is like, well, you're less of a man because you're not doing it. You can't do this. And it's like, it took a minute for the anger of that to go away, to allow her to be the grace in my life.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful. One of the things that my husband and I have seen as we've looked back on this, decade of him being disabled is like what a blessing it was in this crazy way that he was home with me and our 3 kids that have autism, and he was able to be there. And as he gained in strength, he was able to care for the kids. And now that he's, he's got a job and he's doing so much better, he's like, I know how hard it is for you to be home with them. I know how wild they are. I know how much they destroy everything ever. I understand that. And so he's so much more willing to, shun off, I don't know, to get rid of that cultural mindset of the guy goes to work and comes home and does nothing because he was at work all day, so he shouldn't have to do any homework, to be like, oh no, this is a partnership. And I know how hard it is to be, the mom in this household. And so I'm going to help you with all the dishes and the picking up all the trash they leave everywhere and all that. So looking back and going, oh, there was actually a gift in that. There's a gift in everything.
Yeah.
And there truly is that.
Yeah. Well, and I think the hardest part for me of seeing the gifts when I started realizing that there's got to be a gift in everything. And that was like, even before this accident, just life in general, when you go through hard times, was it's like this toss up of, if I say that there's a gift, I'm acknowledging or accepting that I'm okay with this. And like inside, it's like, you don't want to be okay with this thing that happened, that turned your life upside down. And it's almost like you want to stay angry at the universe for giving you this thing that you had to grow through. Right. But when I would look at it and be like, but well, you can't change it. Right. So what are you going to do with it? You're going to stay angry? Are you going to stay in that place of resentment? Or are you going to find what it actually taught you and what the gift was? But it was like this, for me, it was like this kind of struggle inside to accept the gift or to point it out. Because it was like I was saying I was okay with this happening. And it was like a struggle inside for that. It was kind of weird.
I totally see that. I totally relate to that. Like, how do you accept the pain when you're in it and be like, oh no, I'm good with it?
Yeah,
Because
like saying it's okay.
But
Yeah.
it doesn't have to mean, this I love the pain, bring on the pain. It's just an acceptance of like, this is what it takes to grow. This is what it takes to learn. And if there's some bumps in that road, then I guess I'm learning even more with all the bumps.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, I know as humans, right, what we tend to do and what we've been taught to do is to resist our reality, right? We go, oh, it's raining. It shouldn't be raining, right? I shouldn't have had this accident. My parents shouldn't have passed away, right? There's all these things that we resist within the reality that we live in. And if we can acknowledge, first off, have the awareness, right? Everything for us comes back to awareness, right? It's the key. It's the key to everything.
You can't fix anything. You can't grow. You cannot improve if you do not first recognize what there is to grow from and learn from and improve from.
Right.
Yeah. And, I like to use the phrase we realize. We use our real eyes and not the filters that our subconscious wants us to see through.
Mm-hmm.
So when we realize that our reality is manifesting for us, not to us, and you recognize that, you realize that, all of a sudden, the mindset starts that shift. We start to really see the sunshine within the reality that we live in, instead of the resistance of this shouldn't be this way. Because, here's the honest truth. It is this way because it's supposed to be this way, right? Whatever is in front of us in this present moment is supposed to be. And I know a lot of folks listening are going to go, oh, no.
That could be a really hard pill to swallow.
It can. And once you swallow it, the calmness, the amount of heart space that opens up instead of the cage of the mind, instead of the story that we live in about what the future should be or the past shouldn't have been, all of a sudden we lose anxiety and depression, right? Because anxiety is just thinking about the future and how it's going to go wrong, right? Or our fear of it going right. And depression is really looking at the past and not wanting it to be what it was. So if we can live in this present moment and, again, use our real eyes to see what gift are we getting in reality? What are we manifesting that we've actually asked for in this moment? And really, once you see that, the opening of your heart space, the coming home, if you will, to self, so begins and enlarges, and it gives you an opportunity to have different relationships with not only your intimate partner, but with your kids, with your relatives, with your coworkers, with a stranger out in the street, with the cashier at the grocery store. It changes everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, it's either a trap or an opportunity, and you get to pick which side you're going to decide is true for you. And life can really feel like a trap sometimes, and feel like so many things are out of our control and we just have to take it and shut up and deal with it. But when we turn that into an opportunity, it's like, whoa, look how open your heart is now. Look how much joy the future holds when you take that into your hands to choose, to let it be an
Yeah.
opportunity.
And really looking at how much joy it brings to your present moment, right? Because we're not promised any kind of future. I'm not promised the next minute. And I know that. I know that not only because I see it in death with other people and that, but I know it viscerally through my experience that, I came very close to not being here. A little bit more
Closer to
of the concussive force, and it would have separated my brainstem, and I wouldn't be here. And I don't take that lightly. I really don't. And so having joy in this present moment is, for me, the most important part of this human experience. I think it was Byron Katie says, and this is one of the tools that I utilize. I use tons and tons of Tony Robbins tools. He's my guy.
Amazing.
But Byron Katie talks about having awareness about whose business are you in, right? And there's three kinds of business. There's my business, there's your business, and there's God's business, the universe, whatever you believe. If I'm in God's business, I'm not tending to my business. If I'm in your business, you shouldn't, you should, you have to, you can't. I'm not tending to my business, right? So if I'm not tending to my business, right? If I'm in your business or God's business or the universe's business, who's driving my truck? Who's taking care of my business? And where are they withdrawing from my bank account, right? And so really having awareness around that as we go through each present moment. And at first it's a practice, right? This is a lifestyle that we're talking about. And it was a practice to really, even in my accident, and I did this years ago, right? I lived this way for a long time. And then after the accident, it was like, I have to start tending to my business.
It's like stepping up the game.
Yeah. And really utilizing all of the tools and strategies that we have in our toolbox to find that sunshine and not only find it, create it.
Yeah.
Because we are the co-creators of this journey, of this ride. And if you're co-creating while you're in somebody else's business, you're going to miss this present moment. You're going to miss that moment with your 3 kids. You're going to miss that moment that is so important to the journey that each of us is specifically on. And we don't get a redo. As far as we know, we don't get a redo.
Oh, it's so true. And I love how you're talking about, like, you have to change the way that you're perceiving the world, and you have to look for that sunshine even when it's in those darkest times. And I'm sure that in your experience you had moments where you're like, no, it's not here. I'm just living in survival mode. I don't see it right now. And sometimes we have to just wait and take a breath and go, you know what? It's going to come. If I don't see all the sunshine quite yet, maybe I just put a pause and then I come back to it and go, okay, now I see it. Now that I've had a little chance to breathe and care for myself, which is another thing that you were talking about. It's like our stewardship on this earth is ourself. It's just taking care of ourselves and growing and learning and improving every day. So I actually have a great story for this, if you don't mind. I have a severely autistic, at the time he was 7 years old, a completely nonverbal son named Joshua, and I had given up on him ever speaking. He didn't have a single like any sort of sound that meant anything. And at 7, he nearly died when he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And he was in DKA and he was in the hospital, and it was so overwhelming, and it was so like, it was just, let's get through this, let's survive this. But as I look back, we're 4 years later, he started talking because of that event. Within a month he could say all his colors, and here we are 4 years later, and he never shuts up.
Yeah.
And I mean, he never ever shuts up. And don't get me wrong, he talks about the same thing, he says the same sentences over and over and over and over and over again, and gets really stuck on them, and it gets extremely frustrating and extremely overwhelming. But as I look back at that, it's like, this is a miraculous thing that that my 11-year-old is talking when I had utterly given up on it. And so as you look, sometimes it just takes that hindsight to look back at those really horrific trials in our lives and go, oh, actually, I can see now how this was a miracle for my good, how this was actually meant to be, how this was just set up for my growth and my learning and for such a beautiful, incredible future. And I can see that so much in your story, Scott, of how you've taken this horrible thing that happened to you, and now you're using it to help so many people to overcome those limiting beliefs and overcome that trauma.
Yeah. Our model of the world, when it doesn't match up to what we believe it should be or shouldn't be, right? We get stuck in the conundrum of the story of the mind, right? And we replay it about how bad it is and how it shouldn't have happened and all of these things. And, we can't connect the dots going forward. We can only connect the dots going backwards, right? You can't see them. But we can have faith, right? We can have faith that the universe, God, whatever you believe in, is putting those steps in front of you, right? And I'm a very visual person, and what comes to mind is, like, I imagine this giant cavern and a cliff on one side and a cliff on the other, and this is our life, and we're going to come across these traverses on our journey, and we have to have faith that the rope is going to hold. We have to have faith that when we step into darkness, the light is just ahead, right? And a lot of us as humans have been taught that in the darkness we turn around, we run away, we freeze, we stop. And really seeing that inside that cave, in that darkness, having the knowing, the knowing in the heart space that the light is there. I just have to take another step. And another step. And another step. And another step, right? And nobody can tell us how many steps it takes. But what I can tell you is that if we give up, when we meet our maker, I feel as though there's going to be a conversation about, man, if you would have just taken one more step, if you would have just went one more step, the light was there, the door was there, the window was there for you. And so I truly believe that, like, as deep in my soul as you can get, I believe that. So I take those steps, and I encourage everyone, no matter what you're going through, no matter how bad it looks in your present moment, take that next step. Take that next action. Take that emotion and move the E and use the motion. But really continue to push and thrive, because, as someone who at one point in my life was going to step off an 8-story building, the steps that I take to live are so much more rewarding, give me so much more clarity about how I can contribute to others, how I can help humans to develop that adventurous mindset, to not get stuck in their own cave and in their own darkness. And I get it. I've been there. I've been the guy who, drank a giant bottle of liquor every day and did drugs. And, I've been that human. And I have to say that taking the steps that I've taken to grow, learning from the people that I've learned from, has been nothing but rewarding. And to be able to give that back to other humans and see them come out of that darkness, see them overcome that PTSD, which I like to call post-traumatic growth syndrome. Because again, when we change the meaning of these things, your world opens up. And, unfortunately for a lot of humans, we get stuck in a meaning in our story. And so anything we can do to help others, to reach out, to have those conversations, that's what brings me joy today.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That reminds me, so I just saw this meme, which I've seen many times before, and hopefully everyone has seen this, with the guy who's got his pickaxe and he's going through the mountain, and he stops and turns around just shy of the big cavern of treasure, right? Where he's just like one more swing and he would have hit through to everything he'd ever wanted, and yet he'd given up and walked away. And
Yeah.
that's just got to keep swinging.
Yeah.
Just got to keep taking those steps in that darkness and just trust that the light is at the end of it, that the sunshine is there somewhere. And there's this other quote that I love. It says, sometimes the only step you could take is a leap of faith.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
One of my favorite quotes, I believe it's Eleanor Roosevelt. If it's not, don't go crazy with comments, everybody. But it's, leap and the net will appear. And that's that faith that we talk about, right? And faith for me is about the belief that when I take that next step, it's going to lead to that treasure, to that growth, to that heart space, to that communication, to that conference, to that whatever it is. But if I stop, it leads to nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do anybody any good, not myself, not her, not my son, not our clients, right? Not anybody. So it really is about, even when we believe and we have the story of it's not going to work, it can't, it's this, it's that, take a breath, drop into that heart space, and take a step.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love it. And trust that it's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, this has been such a great conversation. So tell me about your business. Tell me about your coaching and what you do there, and how we can find you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have basically bottled up everything that we have learned and everything that we live into what we now use to help other people. Basically, we're helping people develop that ultimate relationship with themselves, really tap into that authentic self so they can take that next step. They can step into that adventurous mindset, whether it be in any area of their life, but we really dive into relationships, right? Because the quality of our life is directly representative of the quality of our relationships, right? So whether it's with our, family, friends, intimate relationships, those don't thrive until we're thriving with us. So everything we do is really about tapping into you, allowing you to finally meet yourself, right? And really bringing that into all of your relationships, right? So we do it with our unique method of adventure therapy. And sometimes that can look like coming on one of our retreats where we take you to Costa Rica and we really step you out of your comfort zone, and we go waterfall rappelling and horseback riding and whitewater rafting. But sometimes it can be in the comfort of your own home, and we do one-on-one coaching, and we're stepping you out of your comfort zone, again, in ways that are adventurous for you. But every time you step out of your comfort zone, it's the fastest path to self-growth, right? So that's how we really work with people to tap into that.
Well, and one of the big pieces that we like to promote is the tapping into the physiology, right? So we can develop an adventurous mindset, right? It's not difficult. It doesn't take years, right? It can be done in this moment. It's a choice, right? But our body keeps score. Our body holds on to every trauma, every experience, just like our mind. So once we develop that adventurous mindset and we sort of take off the lenses that our experiences have created in our life, we then have to tie it into the physiology. So one of the things on our adventure retreats that we do is waterfall rappel. And you're in this beautiful waterfall in this giant jungle, and there's monkeys, and you can hear all the different birds, and then you're rappelling down this waterfall and there's water running over you, right? And it's kind of a metaphor for life coming at you, because life doesn't stop, right? You're not going to stop that waterfall no matter how hard you try. And to resist it would be to stop and not move and not take action. So we get to the bottom of that waterfall, and you've conquered this enormous thing that, you know, your body and your mindset didn't feel like you could do. And you get to take that into life. You get to take that into the moments where life is coming at you. You perceive life is coming at you, right? In maybe ways that are overwhelming. And you get to take that breath, and you get to trust that as long as you take an action, as long as you take, maybe it's an uncomfortable action, but as long as you take an action, you take that 1 degree shift, you take that one step, there's less of that life coming at you and more of you taking control of what you actually want to get from.
Yeah, it's really rewiring your brain, right? Our brains are wired to think a certain way about situations, about ourselves. And we're taking those steps, again, those 1 degree shifts, to rewire your brain to think differently in all situations. So it's thinking differently about yourself, building those habits so that you can have different in life situations and in relationships. You know, and ways that people can find us is, I guess, online is probably the best way. That's where we're most prevalent. If you type Scott and Nancy into Google, luckily we pop up. There's not many Scott and Nancy's out there doing what we do. So Scott and Nancy, some adventure in there, you're going to find us.
You can find us on Facebook and Instagram. Everything is Scott and Nancy.
Yeah. scottandnancykiesling.com is our website. But yeah, we love sharing with people the growth that we've had, so people can.
That your story is so amazing, and again, I just love, you know, looking at everything you guys have overcome and how you've come so far through this adventure mindset, and how much that adds to your story and to help other people do the same. It's truly inspiring.
Well, thank you.
And
So,
go ahead.
No, keep going.
And we love to do it, right?
Yeah.
It's again, you know, we started coaching before my accident, but it was like here and there. And I would always take a movie, right? I would push clients aside to go take another film. And the gift, again, one of many, many gifts that I got from that experience is that we get to help so many people today overcome that limiting mindset.
Amazing. All right. So as we wrap up, tell me what's your last word of wisdom that you want to share with us?
Change your story, change your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, don't deviate from plan A. You know, that next step that we're talking about is also called determination, right? There's lots of words out there that we can use for it, but we confuse the universe when we jump all over and we're like, oh no, I don't know if this will work, and maybe I should do this. And just keep going after what it is that you deep down want, and it will start to show itself and work out. Don't deviate off of it, because like you said, you might be just this far away from exactly what you're going after. So plan A, go after it, take the steps.
Amazing. Thank you guys so much for coming on today.
You're welcome.
It's been such a joy to hear your story and to talk to you.
Same here, to hear you and what you've overcome and what you're doing for people.
Oh yeah, life's a wild adventure, isn't it? Well, I hope you guys have such an amazing day.
Thank you.
You as well.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh my goodness, Scott and Nancy, you continue to blow me away. Your story is incredible. Your energy is amazing. And I got so much from this episode. So here are my very favorite takeaways. Number 1, as sailors, you're never really on course. You don't lose it, you shift 1 degree and get back on course. And when you think about 1 degree shifts over a length, over a distance, over a period of time, that shift is incredibly large. Number 2, in the challenges is where we get to have a growth spurt. It's where we get to develop that sunshine, that light within us. Number 3, are you going to stay angry? Are you going to stay in that place of resentment, or are you going to find what it actually taught you and what the gift was? Number 4, sometimes it just takes that hindsight to look back at those really horrific trials in our lives and go, oh, I actually can see now how this was a miracle for my good, how this was actually meant to be, how this was just set up for my growth and my learning and for such a beautiful, incredible future. Number 5, the light is there. I just have to take another step. Nobody can tell us how many steps it takes, but what I can tell you is that if we give up, we will find out that it was just 1 more step and the light was there, the door was there, the window was there for you. Number 6, I encourage everyone, no matter what you're going through, no matter how bad it looks in your present moment, take that next step. Take that next action. Number 7, faith, for me, is about the belief that when I take that next step, it's going to lead to that treasure, to that growth. Number 8, every time you step out of your comfort zone, it's the fastest path to self-growth. Number 9, change your story, change your life. And number 10, don't deviate from plan A. That next step is also called determination. We confuse the universe when we jump all over. Just keep going after what it is that you deep down want, and it will start to show itself and work out. Oh my goodness, I love these takeaways. They are so powerful. Make sure you follow up with Scott and Nancy on all of their social media platforms and at their website, scottandnancykiesling.com. You can also find more from me at karaleigh.garrison.com, especially if you're interested in coaching or if you're interested in music or anything like that. Everything is on my website, and you can just find it there. So thank you. Thank you so much for coming today. And don't forget to come back next week. We have really, really incredible episodes, really amazing guests, and just so much inspiration and sunshine headed your way. So as usual, I'm going to leave you with a song. Have an amazing, incredible day. There are times when life just brings you down, 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 down to the ground. And it's hard when you can't see the light, 'cause things don't look so bright. So now it's time to reframe and retrain your brain. It's time to look for the good. You know that you should. Why don't you join me? 'Cause I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking sunshine. Sunshine, I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking babe. 'Cause I'm seeking sunshine, I'm seeking sunshine, I'm seeking sunshine. Oh, 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 I'm seeking sunshine, I'm seeking sunshine, I'm seeking sunshine, I'm seeking sunshine. Yeah, babe. Yeah. Sunshine. I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking, 'cause I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking sunshine. Oh, oh, oh. I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking sunshine. Give me some sunshine.